Hi boys and girls, this is your math e-learning lesson for Thursday, April 30th. Today we're going to be working in lesson 127, multiplying a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number. So let's take a look. I have some of the practice problems up on the board, so let's just take a look at these. So again, we have done this before. You've been working on multiplication. So for some of you, I know this really isn't new, but it's always good to pay attention to the review and to review things. So let's take a look. We have 235 times 24. Now what you need to remember, whatever number you have down below, you want to make sure that you take the digit in the ones place first, and you make sure that you multiply it by each digit in the top number. When you are done with that, then you go to the digit in the tens place and you multiply that digit by each digit in the top number. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm covering up the 4, or we can, rather the 2. We can just even erase it for right now and reminding ourselves that we're multiplying 235 times 4. So that means the 4 needs to be multiplied by each digit in this 3-digit number. So 4 times 5 is 20. You put down the 0, you carry over your 2. 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 plus 2 is 14. Put down the 4, you carry over the 1. And then you have 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 940. Now that we are finished with the digit that is in the ones place, we put a 0 to hold our place. The reason we have the 0 there is because this 2 is in the 10th place, and it's as if we are multiplying 235 times 20. We first had to multiply 235 times 4. Now we have to multiply 235 times 20. Okay, that's why the 0 is here. And now we say 2 times 5 is 10. Put down the 0, carry over the 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Then you add that up. 0, 4, 16, and 1 plus 4 is 5. 5,640. Now the very first time when we were doing a long multiplication like this, I had shown you how this is the same as if we used expanded form. If we used expanded form for 24, 24 equals 20 plus 4. 24 equals 20 plus 4. So here, when you're multiplying 235 times 24, you're first doing 235 times 4, and then you're doing 235 times 20, and then you're adding them together. No differently than if we did this separately and did 235 times 20 and 235 times 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 940. That's what we have here when we multiply 235 times 4. And then if we did 235 times 20, we would bring down our 0. Then 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And 2 times 2 is 4. 4,700, just like we got here when we did 235 times 20. Okay, so remember that that's really what you're doing with that 2-digit number. You're breaking it apart as if you were doing 2 separate problems using expanded form to separate or to break apart this number. Rather than doing 2 separate problems, when you do your multiplication like this, you're doing both problems here and adding. But your answer would be the same even if you took the 235 and then you used that expanded form and you split 24 as I did here, and you did 235 times 20 and 235 times 4. Okay. Right, so this is really just an easier way than having to break that number apart. All right, so let's move to the second problem. 430 times 14. Again, in expanded form, 14 equals 10 plus 4. And so we start with that single digit number. We start with the digit that is in the ones place, the 4. And so we say 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16, plus the one we carried over is 17, 1,720. Now we are ready to use the digit that's in the tens place. We first put a 0 in the ones place because remember, this 1 is in the tens place. If you have a 1 in the tens place, the number you have is 10. So you're actually saying 430 times 10. So we put down that 0 and now we multiply. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4. And now we add them both together. And our answer is 6,020. Okay. Let's move to the third one. $1.25 times 24. Well, 24 is the same as 20 plus 4. And so we start with the digit in the ones place, which is the 4. And we're saying $1.25 times 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Down your 0, carry over your 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 2 is 10, put down the 0, carry over the 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Okay. The next step, of course, is to put a 0 here because that 2 is in the tens place, which means it's not 2 ones, it's 2 tens, which is the same as 20. So we put down our 0 and then we continue to multiply. But before I do that, I want to remind you again how as I'm carrying over, when I go back and I have to add what I needed to carry over, for example here, 4 times 5 is 20, I put down the 0, I carried over that 2. And then when I did 4 times 2 equals 8 plus 2 equals 10, I put a little line through that too. The reason that I do that is because when you start to do this, when you're working with 3 digits times 2 digits or 3 digits times 3 digits or even larger numbers, you have a lot of trading that you end up doing. And so you don't want to get confused, you're trading from the first digit with the trading from the second digit or the trading from the third digit if it was a larger problem. And so just to put like a little mark through it to know you've already added that in, so then when you do the rest of the multiplying, you won't get confused with what you've carried over. Okay, so now I place my 0 to hold the place because again, this 2 actually means 20. And then it's 2 times 5 equals 10, put down the 0. Carry over the 1. 2 times 2 equals 4, plus that 1 equals 5. And then 2 times 1 equals 2. And then you add it together. And your total here is 3,000. Okay? You have a product of 3,000. Okay, then here we have 406 times 32. Again, 32 is the same as 30 plus 2, and so we're going to start by multiplying by the 2. 2 times 6 equals 12. Put down the 2, I carry over the 1. 2 times 0 equals 0, plus that 1 that you carried over, so that's 1. And then 2 times 4 equals 8. I'm ready to multiply the top number by the 3. The 3 is in the tens place, so it really means 30. So I place my 0 because that 3 means 30. So the 0 is in the ones place, and now I can multiply by the 3 in the tens place. 3 times 6 equals 18. You put down the 8, you carry over the 1. 3 times 0 equals 0, plus 1 equals 1. And then 3 times 4 equals 12. And now you can add them both up. That's 2. 9, 9, 2, 1. So there you have 12,992. Okay. There are 2 more problems in the practice, so let's go through those right now. Okay. You have $6.20 times 31 and 562 times 47. Okay. So $6.20 times 31. As you start out just sort of ignore dollars and cents for right now. You're still just doing a 3-digit number times a 2-digit number. So the way you multiply doesn't change. So we start here in the ones place, and we're going to multiply the digit in the ones place by each digit above. So 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 6 is 6. We're ready to multiply by the digit in the tens place. It's a 3, but because it's in the tens place, we know it really means 30. We have that 0 here to fill in the ones place. Okay, and then we multiply by the 3. 3 times 0 equals 0. 3 times 2 equals 6. And 3 times 6 equals 18. Now we add it up. 0, 2, 12, 9, 1. Okay, but I'm not going to place a comma here. I'm not going to say 19,220 because it is money. So I need to remember that it's 1, 2 places, and then a decimal point. Okay, so that's actually 20 cents. And then over here is where I put the dollar sign. So the answer, the product here, is actually $192.20. But you don't need to worry about the dollars and cents sign or the dollars and decimal point until you get down to your product. And then you just have to remember it's 1, 2 places from the right, the decimal point, and everything to the left of the decimal point would be your dollars. Over here we have 562 times 47. Again, that 47 is the same as 40 plus 7. So we start with the digit that's in the ones place, which is 7, and we multiply 7 times 2 equals 14. We put down the 4, we carry over the 1. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 1 is 43. Put down the 3, carry over the 4. 7 times 5 is 35, and 35 plus 4 is 39. Now we're ready to multiply by the digit that's in the tens place. So remember, this 4 really means 40, so that's why we have the 0 here. Okay, we have that 0 in the ones place, 4 for the 40. And then we multiply 4 times 2 equals 8. 4 times 6 equals 24. And 4 times 5 equals 20, plus 2 equals 22. Then we add it up. 4, 11, 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 4 is 14, 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 2 is 6, and then a comma. 26,414. Okay. I feel confident that you will be able to work through your multiplication. Okay, we've done this before. Refer back to the beginning of lesson 127 if you need to review how it's done. Most important is don't forget this 0. You want to make sure that you put down that 0 or your answer will be incorrect. So you need to have that 0 to hold the place, because remember, when you get into the tens place, that is at the tens, and that's not the same as 1. So therefore, 3 in the tens place means 30, not 3 ones, 30. So that's why we have that 0 here, okay, showing that we're multiplying by 30. Remember, when you multiply by multiples of 10, you have that 0. Okay, so you don't want to forget your 0 here. Okay, so you will work on lesson 127 today. And that goes from numbers 1 to 30. 1 to 30, lesson 127. Also, don't forget to spend some time on IXL and extra math. And if you have any questions or you need some assistance, please make sure you reach out to me so that I can help you. Okay? Have a good day.